ready for another dose of a movie review for a movie that's not quite interesting enough to do a proper review of? I hope so, because I'm going to tell you about the Bonesetter. A small town in Canada is stalked by the Bonesetter, an obscure Quebecois boogeyman. A 19th century bonesetter, as in a guy who sets broken bones, kidnapped children, and after his death, kids keep vanishing. It's your usual movie Satanism evil magic crap where he's going to use souls to stay alive or something. The main character is Librarian, and for a brief second I was terrified that they cast a 35-year-old as a teenager because he's rescued from a couple of bullies by his sister.
Mark Dixon, you stupid asshole.
Stacy, here to fight your brother's battles again, eh?
Why don't you guys get out of here? Leave Kyle alone.
Who then tells him she'll see him that night at dinner. Luckily, he's just a massive loser with no friends but her. And the two women who love him. This movie's idea of a loser is really weird. The two women who love him are the librarian's co-worker, another librarian. Yes, I know that's going to get a bit confusing, but I can't remember anyone in this movie's name. And then there's the other woman, the non-librarian. She's obsessed with finding her missing son and is convinced that he was kidnapped by the Bonesetter. She is so obsessed with finding her son that a whole 14 days after the disappearance, she's happy to go on a date with a librarian.
He's my life. I've got to get him back.
You will.
Anyway, in the least unexpected plot of all time, they all team up to locate and defeat the evil Bonesetter. The film's tone is completely serious. There are no nods, no winks, and the performances are a mix of earnest and slightly stilted. But the slightly stilted thing is what you expect from a film with this low budget. If anything, the acting is slightly better than most in this budget range. But there are also glaring pieces where they didn't think things through. Such as a woman whose only defining characteristic being her dedication to finding her missing son, being okay with going on a date with a random guy 2 weeks after his disappearance. And the fact that a small town which has had a fuckload of children kidnapped being brought to its knees in surprise and terror by a single murder. It might happen, I suppose, I'm just not sure how. And of course there's the insanity when Lloyd Kaufman turns up playing the mayor. The mayor, who is apparently Lloyd Kaufman and is trying to keep people calm.
Do not worry, do not panic, go about your business, take the subway. Oh, we don't have a subway, but go and eat junk food. Run your lives as normal. Rest assured that the police are on the case. They are going to find all the missing children. The firemen will put out the missing children, and the dog catchers will take care of the whole situation. Please, do not panic. Whatever happens, please don't panic. Don't panic. We are on the case. As your mayor, I guarantee you.
They really should have given him some sort of a script, or at least a note saying, Lloyd, the movie is meant to be serious. Film your cameo in front of a neutral backdrop and don't be fucking crazy. The actual Bonesetter himself is a disappointment. He speaks with a constant unnecessary echo and shows off his supernatural powers by being monochrome. Also, he can be identified with the smell of brimstone and the presence of cow dung. Honestly, if I was going for an obscure 19th century boogeyman, I'd stick to Spring-Heeled Jack. But, out of the theatrical child kidnappers, he's at least better than Abbott Hayes from Children of the Living Dead. The shots chosen are really pretty basic, and the shots don't flow well together, and the film itself is not well paced. It's very short, and exposition is jammed together in the most random of places. All of its faults are a real pity, because honestly much of the acting was better than I expected. Like I said before, it was stilted and amateurish, but that's still a step up from a lot of performances I've seen. Alas, the Bonesetter himself was awful, in costume, performance, and pretty much everything. He's basically a guy dressed up as Lon Chaney Jr. dubbed over by Tom Hardy.
I haven't had sport like this in a century.
Keep laughing. We'll see how this turns out.
You can't possibly hope to kill me.
It really sounds like I'm shitting on the film, and while I kind of am, it's not intentional. As serious, tiny-budgeted indie thrillers go, this is definitely slightly above average. The little problems with internal logic, realism, bad decisions, the script, and Mayor Lloyd Kaufman just kinda pile up. But remember that my definition of bad movie is kinda different from most people's because, honestly, I've watched a lot of bad movies. It kinda warps your standards a bit. This is far from the worst thing I've ever seen. Whether that's scary or not is up to you. If you're okay with your films being tiny budgeted, occasionally insane, and 20% made up of credits, then pick it up. But only if it's cheap. That was a Nanoview. It was small and imperfectly formed, but you watched anyway. Are you glad you did?